Hi guys, this is Allison from Alley Cat Creations. That light is a little too bright for my liking. Hi! No, it's a little too dark. There we go. Glitching in the Matrix. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you have yet to do so. And if you get anything from my work, a connect dot, an epiphany, a mind explosion, a new book to read, a new author to explore, please consider supporting my work. All the links will be at the bottom of the description below this video. Check out my website, alisonkatz211.com, where you can find, I did not get to update my website today. I was supposed to. Didn't happen because I had other things going on. But paintings, pyramids, lots of different types of pyramids, skulls, commission drawings. That's my printer. All that fun stuff. If you're interested in anything, please email me. That is also on the website. Oracle card readings, all kinds of fun stuff. It's just a portfolio there. But if you're interested, email. Best way to get in touch with me. And if anything's available, we'll make a deal. Channel memberships. Today I posted the first member only video, which was a very in-depth Oracle card reading that I hope people enjoyed. If you're interested in becoming a member, right now it's just one tier. It's a 3D level, and perks, you get channel member videos that I just started, by the way. They get free entries into all my giveaways and raffles. And tomorrow is the next raffle. So get in the entries. You could go to my community tab for all that information on how you could be a part of the raffle. There are 4 paintings up for grabs, and the winner will get to choose which one they would like. And we'll see what happens if I do a second and third place. That might happen. I'm a very giving person. So plenty of new exciting things coming. If you are a channel member, hang in tight. As the channel grows, I will add more things to the fun. The voice of Isis. The voice of Isis. If you couldn't top the last chapter, this self was absolutely profound in so many ways. Holy, holy, holy. This one is the Doctrine of Avatara. And I can't wait to dig into this. Hang in tight. Quote, and behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me, to give every man according as his work shall be. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. And quote, Revelation. The Order of the 15 was put forth by the Great White Lodge for a definite work in helping to prepare the way and make a place for the coming of the great world teacher, the Avatar. For such a divine being can appear on earth, there must be a nucleus formed of awakened souls who not only ardently long for his advent, but who are sufficiently instructed in the law and developed through love to recognize him when he comes. The time has now come to give to our pupils such further information concerning this great event as the time permits. I'm going to pause right here with my own little reflection. As much as I am a very big subscriber to the Christ consciousness returning, and that comes through all of us who are in that pathway of Christ consciousness, although it is happening for everybody, there is a lot of us in the path who are going to be spreading this doctrine, have been already supplanted. There's so many of us that say the same stuff. It's mind-boggling, but yet a lot of ears aren't hearing it. It's not being breached just yet. It's just like Yeshua walking the deserts and trying to heal people. Nobody really cared until after his death. Or people did care, but not in mass. So some people might perceive the timeline where this will actually occur. I don't think I'm going to be one of them. If a being does come down, we really have to be really in our heart alignment to know if it is a false god or a false higher density entity that, like Enki Enlil, played some very heinous roles on our planet to deceive. I don't know. Humanity is a little too naive at times, because I'm seeing this happening playing out. And I'm gonna go over this tomorrow in my live, so join me there. But just in short, they can't see their hero being an enemy, as the other side had the same perception. And you put too much stock into one person. Are you idolatrizing? Put faith in yourself and source. And I'll go more in depth. I might have to make myself a note. What is an avatar? For the term being used ought to be well understood. It is a descent of the manifested deity into an elusive form of individuality, an appearance which to men on this elusive plane is objective. But it is not so in sober fact. That elusive form having neither past nor future, because it had neither previous incarnation nor will have subsequent rebirths, has not to do with karma, which has therefore no hold on it. In other words, a true avatar is a focusing of the universal cosmic Christ principle into and through the individuality of a great soul who has reached divinity, hence has no karma. Such a great soul must be an initiate into the mysteries, one who has overcome and reached nirvanic bliss, but who voluntarily incarnates in the flesh for the purpose of becoming a vehicle for an individualization of the Christos, that it may accomplish a special definite mission in humanity. Such a one sacrifices his life in the spiritual realms and offers himself as a vehicle because of his great love for suffering humanity and in answer to its great need for a more direct manifestation of divine love and wisdom. Another pause here. I do not align with that in terms of what I just read. Time has simultaneously happened, and I don't think back then they understood quantum physics because it really didn't exist. Subatomic particles and photons and neutrons, and they do go into science, but not in such depth. Do I believe one sole person is going to come down and do the same thing Yeshua did? I would hope damn not. Why? Because we did that and we don't need to repeat that kind of past. What we do need is an enlightened group of council of people that come in through a vehicle like all of us have. There is no passer for it's time is an illusion. We only base it off of linear time, space, and 3D that we even perceive time. But time is perceived in different types of vibratory states and frequency in the higher densities. The concept is not even like understood by us even here. So For it being at this time stage, yes, but now that we are here reading it, I just feel to interject my little personal feelings here. Because then humanity is still not at the higher wavelength of understanding that they wouldn't even know Yeshua or another entity that had this divinity, whatever you want to call the person by name. They wouldn't even know it in the face. They wouldn't even be able to see it. And not to hunker down and make bad out of humanity. Absolutely not. It's still in this time frame too divisive and too many labelings, opinions, judgments, and hearsay of negativity that an avatar would even want to come down at this moment in time. If later on we hit actual peace and more people join in the unity, then I could see this happening. But I would not, as a divine Christed being, want to have to even come at this moment in juncture in time space. That's just me. As much as I would love for that to happen, and that would be really cool, um, I don't see it. And that's just my perception. You might be a part of the paradigm that will see this. I don't think I'm seeing it. And what I am seeing is that more and more of us are Christed. We have the Christos upliftment encoding within our etherical DNA to have this expression, to give the law, to spread the word, to be disciples in a biblical aspect. But it's being channeled from source. Sources in all things. I don't think there's one, and we're all one. So I don't think any one human being would be encompassing this avatar, possibly later on in further decades to generations from now. That would be sweet. But in now moment, I don't see it. And that's not to say it won't happen. It's just going off of old school the thinking. And this book is old. So I don't hold them to a fault at all. They're just speaking from their perspective in this time space that they were alive. But the whole doctrine of Avatara is so hedged about with mysteries whose elucidation belongs to the higher initiations that only a more or less imperfect outline can be given here. Generally speaking, however, an avatar is not a mortal, but a divine being who descends from the spiritual realms and suddenly appears on earth in a body composed of atoms, which vibrate to the rhythm of the spiritual plane, and hence an immortal. The Orphites and Nazarenes taught that, therefore, Christos, the perfect, uniting himself with Sophia, divine wisdom, descended through the seven planetary regions, assuming in each an analogous form, and entered into the man Jesus at the moment of his baptism in the Jordan. From this time forth, Jesus see, he's not happy. Began to work miracles. Before that time, he had been entirely ignorant of his own mission. This is true interpretation of the symbol in which Jesus is said to be born of a virgin. He descended from the great celestial Virgin Sophia as a direct avatar from the life of Jesus. As given in the Bible, it may be inferred that he was not a direct avatar, having been born of a woman. Nevertheless, he was a direct avatar, for that story is not a history of his physical life, but an allegorical account of the soul life of every great initiate. Yes. So they were reading from the Gnostics' work as I read in the Owaspy the other day a whole nother plethora of how Yeshua came down. But I just want to point out all of us have divinity within us because we're having a ton of fractals of upstairs densify down to merge and then come into a vehicle that then becomes us, a human being. Yeshua is probably of the celestial type, which is one of the higher types, like the closest to source. Not the angels or the archangels, they're actually on the lower half of the scale. From my standpoint, um, but everybody's interpretation of how Yeshua came into being is different. And I'm going to just say this so that it clarifies anybody's, well, no, blah, blah, blah. I love you. I do. I love you guys. For whoever is going to challenge it. In the multiverse, on the many planes of existence in reality that is concurrently happening in this time space, there are, let's say, billions of timelines that each and every one of the ways that is perceived, projected, and distorted has been played out in another timeline, in another delineation of time space. So there is absolutely no wrong way to tell how Yeshua came into being because it all happened. That, let's just put that down. All of it has happened. That's why I was saying earlier, I don't think I'm perceiving this big, giant density amazeball that enters into a human to being anything prolific than any one of us is. I don't see it in my reality, the one that I create, that I perceive, that can currently create an atmosphere of quarks and atoms and neutrons and photons to make this reality work. But in this paradigm that we are all seeing me here and now, the time distortion and delineation, you can perceive however you would like to see Yeshua come into life and be birthed. Whatever story feels right in your heart space. There is no right or wrong. We're told all of this, but if you take the multiverse and you understand that we keep shifting timelines and we keep shifting perception, and the Mandela effect is only us shifting into different realms and going back and forth in time space to creating all these other paradigms, then you would understand that this is also a potentiality of happening. All the stories projected and perceived out there are true. Which paradigm? Which dimensional space? Because the multiverse is cut up into millions and millions and millions and billions of parts. I know I probably lost people, but look at the Mandela effect and then understand that we're shifting time space in linear time, linear 3D time. We shift and we move humanity. So in one moment, Mandela died. The next moment, he's alive. How is that to be, Allison? Because we shifted into another time space. Henceforth, any one of us could have perceived Yeshua's coming and leaving differently. There is no right or wrong. Sorry, just have to explain things. And this is upstairs talking. As above indicated, the Christos becomes individualized upon all planes, beginning with the highest spiritual plane and gradually descending to earth. In the case of the coming avatar, the individualization has already reached the high astral plane, the next above the earth plane. When the mission of an avatar requires an appearance upon the physical plane, His spiritual body responds to his will, lowers its rate of vibration to the keynote of the physical plane, whatever similar to the way steam can be condensed into ice. And he appears among men in a body to all intents physical, an appearance which to men on this elusive plane, elusive, you see, is elusive, is objective, but it's not a sober fact. And that it is not a mortal body confined to a physical plane and subject to death and decay. Such a divine being is not born of woman, but simply appears in a body far more glorious, sensitive, and powerful than any mortal body could be. Such a body can manifest upon any plane of consciousness in response to the will of its possessor, sorry. Since such a great soul is one with his Father in heaven, he has all knowledge and all wisdom, hence would require no earthly instruction or schooling, for his consciousness would be one with the Christ consciousness, hence all knowing. I challenge it all because I get higher entity beings that speak through me. And I'm not objecting to what they're saying so much as there's much more to this. And like I said earlier, we have to be very wary about what polarity this entity is coming in, because we do not need to repeat Atlantis or Lemuria. His manifested personality would transcend all racial characteristics and limitations, would be the type of perfected man. Hence, he could not be pointed out as belonging to a particular race, but would embody the perfections of all races and therefore would not arouse the race prejudice of even the most advanced. The appearance of an avatar is determined by the needs of humanity, and the manifestation is as great as the highest ideals of the most advanced of mankind demanded. He comes in answer to the cry of many, many hearts for more love and light, for higher ideals, for a clearer understanding of the universal spiritual truths contained in the one wisdom religion. As more and more hearts send up their cries, the demand creates a vacuum or a negative vortex into which the positive complementary force of the Christ principle must flow and find an embodied manifestation in humanity. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, the Christ, says, I produce myself among creatures, O son of Bharata. Wherever there is a decline of virtue and an insurrection of vice and injustice in the world, thus I incarnate from age to age for the preservation of the just, the destruction of the wicked, and the establishment of the righteous. This law is illustrated by the popular saying, the darkest hour is just before the dawn. Therefore, we will find that humanity has reached a point of great spiritual, mental, and social unrest, during which the established and recognized spiritual teachers have gotten so far away from their true spiritual guidance that the great mass of humanity are like sheep without a shepherd and are sending out their heart cries without ceasing. What is truth? Who shall show us the way? Yourselves. How long, O Lord, how long? This sounds like right now. This cry must bring forth its answer. In other words, when the enlightened thought of the day recognizes, as it does today, that its spiritual teachers are no longer in spiritual touch with the higher realms and no longer divinely called, guarded, and appointed to their offices, a new regime is demanded. When the ceremonies employed and the sacraments administered by priests and ministers no longer carry divine potency, it is time for a true priesthood to be established. When the covenant of marriage is no longer a sacred sacrament, but has degenerated into the mere recital of a few words before one who has no spiritual power to discern whether or not the man and woman belong to each other spiritually, as all divinely ordained priests have. And through such ignorance, the resulting mistaken marriages degrade the divine creative power into mere sex gratification, impurity, and lust. Then there must come a fresh outpouring of divine love, purity, and wisdom. For there is never a sincere prayer uttered by the children of men that does not by the very law of the universe create its answer. Neither social, political, nor economic injustice and inharmony can ever be truly adjusted and regulated and graft abolished until the divinely appointed priesthood, who are under personal conscious direction of the progenitors and guides of the race, is reestablished. The question of the marriage sacrament alone demands a divinely appointed and trained body of spiritual teachers, a true priesthood, who have the power to know who should partake of the sacrament together and who should not. If there were no other need in humanity for an avatar, this alone would be sufficient to call one into manifestation, that a new order of true priests of the Lord of the divine law might be established. But there are many other crying needs expressed in present-day social, economic, and political conditions, as well as the awakening of many, many hearts to the need of more direct spiritual teachings. Hence, all the signs of the times point to the necessity for a fresh outpouring of divine love and wisdom in all this present age. As the avatar descends through the higher worlds and draws near the earth plane, all all hearts who are open to his influence or respond to the keynote of his message come into more or less conscious touch with him interiorly through the illuminating power of his divine consciousness and feel an unquenchable desire and an irresistible urge to purify, uplift, and make more harmonious than phase of work for humanity in which they are interested. And today, all classes, types, and conditions of mind are feeling the influence of a great spiritual awakening, which is giving them a greater vision, a greater realization of the needs of humanity, and the possibility of their filling a wider range of usefulness and accomplishing greater results. And this no matter whether they are more or less blindly following the urge to do good along philanthropic, humanitarian, sociological, or political lines of endeavor, or whether they are occultists who understand the law and are working more or less consciously under the inspiration and direction of those great souls, the masters of wisdom, who love, wisdom, and power is back of and working through every effort for the betterment of the race in direct proportion to the ability of the various channels to assimilate and make use of their help. Ta-da! An avatar then is the focusing and embodiment of the same Christ principle that has manifested in all ages and all avatars, each of whom thus became the Christ for the age in which he appeared. Each direct descent of deity into physical embodiment, however, is preceded by many lesser and incomplete manifestations called Avesha avatars. In these cases, an advanced soul who has not yet reached full mastery, but who is sufficiently pure, loving, and compassionate, is chosen and overshadowed by the Christ principle for a certain time and for a certain purpose. That's a lot of us. In every organization, society, order, or movement working along truly spiritual, occult, or mystic lines, there will be certain advanced members who will be able to reach up into the spiritual realm and come into conscious communication with the avatar. From these advanced souls, one who is especially pure, gifted, well-trained, and worthy will be chosen as the mouthpiece through whom the message of the avatar message of the avatar will be given out of his particular society or movement. It is necessary, however, that this vehicle be capable of receiving all and transmitting as much of the divine wisdom in its purity as the stage of evolution and degree of spiritualization of his bodies is capable of expressing. Hence, such a vehicle must be carefully trained, disciplined, and prepared that his faculties and powers may reach their greatest perfection. In each case, the chosen one is a Christ only during the period of the overshadowing, at all other times being but the human and mortal personage. Not that there is any limit to possible revelation, for the overshadowing is always the Christos, which is not a being, but the essence of divinity, which is everlasting law, everlasting wisdom, the essence of truth from the beginning, from everlasting to everlasting. Jesus speaks of the overshadowing power as the comforter and tells his disciples that it is expedient for him to go away that the comforter might come. This simply means that being the avatar, he condensed or focused the Christos in himself, which at his departure would be perceived by mankind apart from his manifestations through his personality and shine in every heart prepared to correlate with it. But the Comforter, which is the Holy Ghost, whom the Father will send in my name, he shall teach you all things and bring all things to your remembrance. To your remembrance. Love you guys. Whatsoever I said unto you. Pause. So that kind of alluded to the fact of what I was saying, that there are so many of us speaking very similarly on the same concepts of the great law, the wisdom that we are receiving, getting channeled. Most of us are probably channeling the Christos, the essence, the divine wisdom. That's not to hold yourself up on a podium and have a freaking party. That's a humongous responsibility, and you got to do it properly with divine love and compassion. Probably why I am steering in the direction that I am in, getting away from the hate and people that are in judgment and labels, not because I don't love them and want to give them compassion and light. I always do and always will. But I can't have my vibrations lowered. And there are many of you on the same path. I'm not alone. So many of us are probably that, in essence. Maybe. Maybe. In other words, each truly spiritual, pure, sincere society and movement will have some illumined soul who will be an Avasha avatar to that society or movement to prepare his followers for the coming of the avatar, as John the Baptist prepared the Hebrews for the coming of Jesus. No doubt in many instances, such an Avasha avatar will be considered by his followers to be the avatar in person. But this is easily determined if you remember that an avatar is not immortal. When such a claim is made for any human being, however great or wise, you may know that he could not be more than an Avesha avatar and be mortal. Nevertheless, the essence of his message would be that of the avatar, for water is still water, whether measured by a thimble or by an ocean. Furthermore, if he be a pure and enlightened Avesha, he will not only refuse the title of avatar, but will exclaim with John the Baptist, "One mightier than I cometh, the latchet of whose shoes I am not worthy to unloose." He will also discontinuance all adulteration and personal worship. The characteristics of his teachings will include not only the much abused universal brotherhood, but also the true tolerance that arises from a recognition of the divine guidance of other teachers and Aveshas. For one evidence of a true Avesha must be a recognition of the divine mission of others. Necessarily, the message of the various Avesha avatars will differ in details, methods, and presentation, etc. For the ability of such a channel to give out the teaching depends upon such factors as a line of endeavor he is interested in, his race thought, his mental and spiritual capacity, his habits of life, his knowledge of the laws and philosophy of the higher life, and the intellectual training, his mind, through which all the teachings must pass, has received. In this way, the members of every society and movement shall hear the divine truth spoken in their own language wherein they were born, couched in the terminology, symbols, and characteristic methods of expression peculiar to their own avenue of truth. See? Thus, all classes of humanity will be given the opportunity to do their part in preparing for the coming of the Great One by forming a universal center in which he can manifest. This does not necessarily mean a center in the sense of segregated community, but a universal center in the thought world from which the currents of force will radiate that shall affect the minds and hearts of the whole world. Each Avesha avatar will no doubt find a community for his own followers, and out of each community, there must ultimately be chosen those advanced disciples who have been old to recognize the Christ in the air or on the higher planes, and hence are able to recognize him when he manifests in the flesh. These will be gathered together to be his immediate disciples and bodyguard. The avatar will not come to any one society, movement, order or sect, but will come to humanity. His truths will be so divine and perfect, yet so simple, unbiased, and unprejudiced by the characteristics of any cult, that they will be equally applicable to all, no matter what their race, creed, or special trend of thought may be. We have the Gospel of St. John in language so simple as to be complete and incomprehensibly blind to all but the initiated, the whole doctrine of the Avatara. We read, in the beginning was the Word, the Christos, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. God is that it was and is the totality of spiritual wisdom, the creative Word that manifested Christ. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him. In him was life, and the life was the light of man. The Christ principle is the essence of divine life, without which there can be no life. And being divine, this life is the light of man, and is distinct from mere animal life, which is but the outward and densest covering of divine essence. And the light shineth in the darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. It is hidden in a human body. These verses also bear testimony that the light of Christos is one more to be manifested in humanity, as it has been manifested periodically from the beginning. This is but another and more compact statement of a deep esoteric truth and a most sacred mystery, which has filled volume after volume in more ancient scriptures. In all religions now on earth, there is an exoteric or public and inner or secret teaching. Something analogous is true of the manifested Christos. It has its exoteric manifestations and inner essence. Heretofore, in every manifestation of an avatar, it has been the outer covering, as it were, of this power that has manifested through the vehicle. And even this has been more than humanity could grasp or understand. And the coming avatar will be manifested more of the inner essence of the Christ than has ever before been possible, because thousands in the world today are shaking off the garments of their dense materialized conceptions of life and are responding to the higher spiritual ideals. Every great teacher, such as Zoroaster, Gautama, Jesus, has founded a new religion, or at most a new expression of the one religion. They have all taught the wisdom religion, but in ways which appeal to the different peoples to which they came. While each of those great teachers had taken the world a step onward and emphasized some one phase of divine truth, still they have founded but larger sects, rather than brought the world into the one universal brotherhood. The Christian religion is universally acknowledged to be the greatest factor in modern civilization. No. And the time has now come for it to take an advanced step through the awakening of a sense of deep, underlying vital truths common to all religions in the hearts of all earnest seekers among Christian people. thus taking the first step on the return journey to the one religion. Why I was making that comment is that I don't disagree. If you're going to do it through religion, sure. But I don't think you need a religion at this point to find the wisdom. And it should not be a religion. It should be spiritual. And the reason why I'm saying that spiritual is not bound by any label of obtainment. Your obtainment is the wisdom of seeking the oneness within yourself. And however and whatever means it's going to get you there will get you there. It doesn't need to be a religion. And most religions in this modern era need a lot of cleaning out of the dark, negative, inverted practices, teachings. People of the negative polarized sort need to be removed in order for the religions to be purified and come back into wholeness of what it was created for in the first place, and not some distortion, illusion of falsehoods that most people have no idea that's going on in their own religion. And it's all religions, it's not just any one branch. There's a lot of greed. There's a lot of the 7 deadly. I don't think they're sins. I just think they're lower human animal sorts of personalities that leech off of said like people that just are in awareness. There are many prophecies in the Bible and elsewhere relating to the Avatar who closes this cycle, which has never been fulfilled in any sense. The book of Revelation is distinctly a history of the preparation for the coming of such an Avatar. In it is allegorically set forth all that must occur in the world during the Avaric cycle. A careful study of this book will provide that it contains teachings identical with the above, as well as with those of the ancient revelations pertaining to the mysteries. This will easily be understood if the student will remember that the Bible covers the whole period of an avatary cycle, Avaric cycle. From the first coming of the reappearance of the Avatar at the close of the cycle, Jesus, speaking of the Christ principle within him, said, I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the ending, Alpha and Beta Centauri, which is and which was and which is to come, the Almighty. A most blasphemous assertion is referring to his human personality. This emphasizes the fact that it was not the man Jesus, but the Christos that manifested, and that it was the same power in all ages and in all manifestations, and that the same divine power which manifested through the personality called Jesus will be the power to manifest through the Avatar who closes this messianic cycle and plants the seed for the new. But instead of this return being merely the founding of a new religion or sect, humanity, having passed the lowest point of the downward arc of the cycle and begun laboriously to climb the upward arc, the coming Avatar must fulfill the prophecies already given, bring to earth as much of the divine wisdom as humanity can attain to by the end of the 6th and 7th sub-races, and plant the seed for the future 6th great race, whose manifestation will usher in the golden age. That's now. The time of his coming cannot be given out, but it will be in exact accord with the astronomical and numerical cycles hinted at elsewhere. Moreover, all who will draw into the coming brotherhood will find that they are in some mysterious way connected with the secret cycles of the Messiah. The Avatar cannot come until the cycle is fulfilled, until the stars are in the proper position, as we said in a former lesson. It is a fact that the creative force flows in cyclic waves, and in a cycle corresponding closely to a century of Earth life. The ebb and flow of the great force is first downward. The first quarter of the century passes from the spiritual world into the mental and physical, the second quarter down into the physical, and then in the last half of the century back again into the spiritual plane, following the reverse order. But the deductions that have been drawn from these facts by some are arbitrary and misleading. As the force descends from the spiritual plane into the psyche, into the first quarter of the century, 225, it causes great creative activity in the psychic and mental worlds, and the masters take advantage of the fact to work with the tide. Consequently, all those who have developed their faculties so they can reach the higher psychic plane can meet the masters upon the plane, not upon the astral, and can benefit correspondingly by the great activity of that period. Later, during the second quarter from the century 25 to 50, the force descends into the physical world and touches the lowest point of its arc, but it is still spiritual creative force. The natural deduction from this is before the first quarter of the century 1 to 25 is most emphatically the planting and growing time corresponding to springtime of the year. It would be during the quarter of the century that an avatar would first manifest himself to his more advanced disciples and plant in their hearts the seeds of his teachings. The second quarter of the century, 25 to 50, corresponds to summer, the time when the spiritual creative force, having penetrated to the earth plane, must bring forth its fruit upon the plane. Whatever has been planted must bring forth its fruit, provided it has been a fruitful season, that is, providing the work has been faithfully done and the spring growth carefully nurtured. Should this part of the cycle of the century coincide with certain greater cycles, it would be possible at this period for the avatar to manifest openly among men, his being the fruit of the culminating cycles. The Master Jesus was spoken of as the first fruits of them that slept. The word slept indicating not in manifestation. Should the avatar come, the result of his teaching and his contact with the earth would mature during this period. At the end of the quarter of the century, the force, having reached its lowest point, would turn upward and his teachings would rise, humanity with it. We're in that phase. The third quarter, 50 to 75, corresponds to the autumn when the fruit is harvested. When we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we be ever the Lord. The last quarter, 75 to 100, corresponds to the winter time, when the ground is frozen. At that time, after the harvest has been gathered and spiritual forces indrawn, and the world has again fallen away from the true teachings, it becomes necessary for the Lodge of Masters again to send out an agent or agents on the physical plane to break the ground and prepare for the new springtime. At such a time, much of the activity of the Lodge is directed to the physical plane through physical embodiments. Consequently, these early years of the century are pregnant with power. As the years go on, the great creative force of love must be brought down to earth by those who can receive it. For only as we are able to reach up into the higher psychic realm, there meet and correlate with the great teachers, it is possible to prepare prepare for the coming to earth of the fruit, or the embodied power of the Christ force, in the person of the avatar whose coming the cultivating of many cycles now makes possible. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. Already the watchers have seen the Christ star, the star that has announced to all wise men in all ages the appearance of an avatar. Consequently, we believe that the avatar will soon come, not in physical body born of woman, but in a more etherical or spiritual body, capable nevertheless of appearing objectively as a physical body or occasion demands. Project Bluebeam. I had to say it, sorry. Instead of this being a time to sit down and con old lessons, it is time to be up and doing, but on lines altogether different from those suitable to the period of the breaking of the ground and sowing of the seed. This is why the order of the 15 is now put forth to enable all who are ready to grow to the point where they can, through special instruction, come into personal touch with the masters and the avatar. It is asserted by many advanced thinkers that the present wave of psychic unrest is a sign of the near advent of the avatar, and that a widespread development of psychic faculties will usher in his coming. This is indeed a sign of the coming, but it is not strictly correct to say that it will be the characteristic, for although there will be a period of great psychic activity, not however due to new senses, but to the use of the present faculties upon their inner planes. It will but serve to prove that the mere psychic development is not the end to be desired. Behold, the days come with the Lord God that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor of thirst for water, but a hearing the words of the Lord. And they shall wander from sea to sea, and from north even to the east. They shall run to and fro to seek the word of the Lord, and shall not find it. The spiritual understanding of the people shall be darkened, and they shall wander from sea to sea, seeking the word of the Lord. Today, many are running to and fro after advertised teachers, seeking to develop their psychic faculties. And many who have begun to use these faculties on even the lowest stratum of the astral plane set themselves up as teachers to write books, giving the world minute directions covering the whole field of thought and action, from the feeding of their animal bodies to the obtainment of adeptship. With the fragments of knowledge thus obtained, such teachers claim that every other psychic who has gleaned a few different fragments is wrong. This has been true. This psychic awakening, conflict, and confusion will come at the first step in a wonderful wave of activity in all walks of life, tending to extreme selfishness and unbrotherliness, for each will claim the truth and start sect after sect like a pack of wolves, tearing a carcass into pieces. Each one will be ready to fight to the death to maintain and guard his bone against the whole pack. Then shall begin wars and rumors of wars and struggle for supremacy. Now the brother shall betray the brother to death, and the father, the son, and child shall rise up against their parents, and shall cause them to be put to death. This will be but the beginning of the end, and the prospect will be hopeless indeed, did we not know that out of those who run to and fro, one by one, there will be the few who will open their spiritual faculties, sweeping away the mists of prejudice, and see the light of the Christos shining in their brothers' hearts. These few will band together to help spread the light rather than to increase the confusion, and they will be remnant who will survive the physical catastrophes and usher in the golden period of the present Kali Yuga age. These will not seek the kingdom through psychic development, but through awakening of their love and compassion. They will find the Christ light illumining their hearts and opening up the psychic doors normally and without effort. These will be the 144,000 who will meet the Lord in the air, in the high spiritual plane in which they can penetrate because of the love and compassion developed. Only when the Christ love has manifested and has thus awakened the hearts of the considerable number of disciples can a center be formed in which the power can be focused and individualized in the person of the coming avatar. I don't necessarily believe in the number of 144. It's a frequency, but what they are saying is very true. People are not going within and listening to their heart alignments to know that they themselves have the voice and the power to be their personal savior. No one's going to save us but ourselves. That's why I'm on the standpoint of non-duality and divine neutrality. People preach Christ all the time, but yet you're judging your other self. You have no love and compassion for the ones that you hate. You don't send love and light. You send disrespect and darkness. They're giving you the recipe in which to live your life and to at least follow, make an attempt. I say this all the time, but there are still people in argument that not all of it is omnipotent and omnipresent, because if God's in all things, God's in evil too. It is what it is. When the birth of Jesus was announced, it was only after the particular angel had announced the Christ that the angelic hosts of heaven joined in the chorus. So today, all who are faithfully guarding their flocks upon the mountaintop will first hear the announcement and then the response. The order of the 15 is put forth in an effort to awaken the Christ love in the hearts of men rather than to cater to the intellect or the desire for psychic development. For only those who can correlate with the Christ power can be gathered together as his disciples. The aim of this movement is especially to help all Christian people to find the deep underlying vital truths common to all religions in their own, and this truly, in the only way possible, prepare for a universal brotherhood on earth in which each soul shall find the same vital truths spoken in his own language, couched and taught in terms of the religion in which he was born. This is beautiful. I just don't like the word religion. This is the only real way of bringing about brotherhood. For to dream of brotherhood in which all classes of humanity and all the varieties of race, thought, are focused to flow in one direction and accept as final truth, couched in one set form, no matter how lofty the form or how beautiful its trend, is but a fantastic chimera born of the human mind and whose attempted practical establishment has always ended and always will end in confusion, antagonism, and unbrotherliness, far more intense than before the attempt was made. It is only by touching the deep underlying springs of universal love, the universal brotherhood can be obtained. Therefore, we ask one and all to seek to develop the Christ love in their hearts, remembering that only when it shows in their lives and makes them more Christ-like can it be said to have germinated. A seed may lie dormant for ages, but the instant it opens its heart to the life of the sun, it begins to grow. So it is with the Christ seed. The Christ light is in every man. But we can say the Christ star has arisen only when it shines forth and illumines our daily life. The Christ love is a consuming fire, and all fire spreads. In the life remains cold and dark and selfish, the fire is not yet lit. This is the first step toward universal brotherhood, for when we find the Christ in our own hearts, we seek for it in every other heart. If chicken wasn't over here, I'd have a chicken drop. Truth in its fantastic frequency. Why I can't listen to hate, divisiveness anymore, and the back and forth rhetoric of something that's illusory, in my reality at least. Not to say that things aren't happening and things aren't playing out in my outside world, but unless I see the changes in my reality, that my bills are going down, that I am not struggling as most people are, it's an illusion. If I want tangible results, I have to manifest it. I have to work at it. I can't with people who cannot see the Christ in all beings. The light is in all beings. There's some beings that just have way too many layers of black, and the light is not shining. And one day, maybe your perception will change. Maybe instead of hating, you dislike. And maybe after disliking for a bit, you start to say, well, I don't prefer that. And it's going to be over there. It's not going to rent space in my head. And then maybe eventually you can see the God in all things. We have a little bit longer to go before we can bring in and usher such an avatar, if that is to happen in this potential possible realm that we are all inhabiting, that keeps shifting and moving in timelines. So nothing is ever set in stone. We wrote many, many billions of timelines and stories to merge with. We're all choosing on an instantaneous vibratory state of our unawareness, where we're all as humanity are going towards. Of course, individually, you can shift at any moment, and you are doing it constantly. But you were set to be bounded by humanity. So you can't go in giant leap too far out, you'll disappear. And most people have. So I hope this touched some of you. I know I'm not going against what they're saying. I just believe within me and from what upstairs gets channeled through me that a version of this will definitely occur. It's just we have to be mindful of the falseness that does come down and has already come down in its many forms in past. This is where we take the past, we learn from it. And not to just give your power away, because you are the Christ consciousness. And I don't think the avatar is here yet. And as many people thinking it's this one person, it's not. Not because I wouldn't wish it was. A Christed person isn't going to lead you into false illusions just because there's things they can't tell you or whatever. Someone who walks in their authenticity, no matter what movie role they're playing, will tell you the truth. I'll hide it from you. Just something to take into consideration. Sending each and every one of you love, like a passion, grace, shielding, and protective energy. Please go within, be the shoulder, be the lighthouse, seed your truths. And I hope to see you all tomorrow during Friday Night Live. Raffle is incoming. Because it was short notice, I will have the list of numbers. I'm closing it out at 3. I should be home at like between 3:30. I get out at 3, so usually 3:15. 3:30, I'm out of work and home. And hopefully by 5:30, I have a number list. I will put it up on my community tab. I will also show it during the live, and we'll see who wins. I'm really excited. Let me know what you guys think. And again, there's no wrong or right, because each timeline and each delineation of time space, there's a different thing unfolding out. There's no right or wrong. And it's all for us to have experience, to walk through, to gain the wisdom in order to impart it in others. So, as hard as that is to conceive, I hope one day many of you see it similar to me, because you're not going to see it as me. Unless you're a fragment, yeah, you got a whole soul fragment within me, and you're aware. But until the next time, guys, thank you for your love, your support, your generosity, and don't forget to like. I don't get many likes on my videos. Share, it's caring. Um, and I can't wait to see you all tomorrow. Have a blessed and beautiful day. Bye for now.